Welcome back once again to another episode of the Concho Sports High School Football Preview. I'm Russ Howard. I'm joined once again by Coach Larry Holscher and head Christoval football coach Casey Otho. Coach, welcome to the show.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, no problem. Let's start off by talking a little bit about last year. Not quite the season you were looking for, but there were some highlights. Talk a little bit about what you thought went right last year.
Well, as we started the season off, we had a lot of new players coming in and just learning the execution of the offense. And like I said, as we got through the season, our motto kind of going into the summer was we just ran out of games. We hit our stride the last couple of games of the season, and we started playing really good football, and then the season was just over too soon for us.
Yeah. That last game, your season finale, I think it was Reagan County,
Right.
Blew them out pretty handily. Was that the kind of the moment you think all the off-season efforts, all season trying to mend the new players or meld the new players in, is that when they all kind of started to come together maybe?
Well, I mean, every coach wants to go out on a good note, and that was a great game for us. It really carried over into the off-season, into the summer, and even coming into fall camp this year.
Yeah. Coach, Larry, as I always say, jump in with anything, man, as we're talking here.
Right. I know a lot of the seasons that I've been a part of when if the preseason didn't go the way you wanted, but, district and you start, like you said, you start finding your win, you start finding yourselves, kids start understanding and believing, it leads to a really good offseason. What was your feel on the offseason leading into this year without the seniors?
Well, the main thing was, as we came into the summer, our summer workouts, we had planned on starting on a certain date, and I had about 10 to 15 players call me and say, Coach, let's start a week earlier. And it just carried on from there.
Right.
And, the commitment and the attendance and just the family atmosphere in that weight room and on that track and on that field, it's carrying over and it's carrying over. They believe, they buy in, and like I said, they believe in the system, they believe in each other.
Right. And chemistry is huge. You can have all the talent in the world, but if those guys don't truly love each other, the chemistry isn't there, what could be a really great season just never materializes. So with this team that you have this year, what do you see chemistry-wise with them? I know you just kind of alluded to it, but maybe expand a little bit more.
Well, this is kind of not really it's kind of just an old school kind of philosophy, but I really do believe that your sub-varsity teams, you want to make sure that they're on par. And what I'm getting to is our varsity and our JV, they're a family together. They're not separate in the locker room.
Sure.
We have separate locker rooms, but they're all together all the time. And, you get that feeling that this is going to be a continuation for multiple years.
And you hit on it. You have to be a family because, what those JV guys a lot of times don't understand is the success from the varsity is greatly impacted by them because they're the ones that prepare them for Friday night, just like the varsity prepares the JV for Thursday night. So
yeah.
I agree 100% with that.
Let's talk a little bit about offensive changes, maybe returners. I know in small school, high school football, you can't talk offense without talking defense because a lot of these guys go both ways. But if I remember correctly, don't you have all of your offensive line coming back this year?
Yes, sir. We have 10 offensive starters back.
So, and this is kind of a duh question, I know, but obviously I'm going to go ahead and throw that softball out there. How does that help you in the offseason implement any kind of new scheme changes or, new wrinkles to the offense?
Well, really we didn't implement any new schemes or wrinkles. We just hit the floor running, so the execution, I feel like our execution up front is a couple weeks ahead of what it would normally be at this time of year.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about returners. Obviously, everybody knows about Manuel Riojas. I mean, first team, all-team district selection, almost 860 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns. Who are some of the other guys that on that offense that jump out, that look like they're going to be stars again this year?
Well, Ethan Bush, he's our slot receiver. He's kind of our kind of go-to guy right now. He scored twice last night in our scrimmage. He's a big, strong kid, and he's hungry for football. He wants to play at the next level, and he's gonna be special.
Yeah. Quarterback, you got Stanton McLaughlin returning. what kind of strides has he made in the offseason? I mean, was there anything he worked on to kind of get better at?
Yeah, it's a unique story about Stanton. He really didn't play a snap of football until last year. He was injured his freshman year, the first game of the season, couldn't play the season. First game of his sophomore year, injured, couldn't play the rest of the season. So last year was his first year to play high school football, and he's come a long ways. He's really developed a lot this summer. You know, his passing game has really come a long ways.
Yeah.
Having a returning offensive line will definitely help that young man.
Oh, no doubt.
Get comfortable back there for sure.
So for those at home who may not be familiar with Christoval's style of offense, what generically speaking, because I don't want you to give away too many trade secrets, but generically speaking, what kind of offense do you focus on running?
We do a lot of gap schemes, but our main thing is, you know, people call it the inverted veer now. You know, it's just power dash, things like that, two back, sniffer back, that kind of stuff. You got 5 offensive linemen. I got some fullbacks that are the same size with a little more speed, so why not have 6?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right.
Larry, your thoughts on offense?
No, I mean, it's becoming an offense you're seeing a lot with a sniffer back and the dash for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that gave us a hard time when we ran a 4-2-5 when I was coaching, so I would assume that it still does. And I like the idea of taking you've got athletes, and if you've got them that are all kind of the same size, let's add another
Right.
a 6th lineman.
Yeah. So let's move over to the defense for a moment. What kind of, if any, changes happening on that defense? Returners, guys that you're looking forward to seeing what they can do on the field?
Yeah, we actually returned 9 of our defensive starters, you know, and so our defense, we're changing schemes this year just to get more athletes on the field. It's gonna be a couple weeks of some learning, some growing pains, something like that. But I feel like all in all, it's gonna be good for us.
You mentioned this in public, so I don't think I'm disclosing too much. But you're transitioning to a 3-4, more of a 3-4 look this year, and you said, if I'm not mistaken, to get more linebackers on the field.
Yeah, I mean, just to get more athletes on the field at one time, and to give our chance for our offensive line to catch their breath, because their job's, you know, very, very important on the other side of the ball.
Right. So not as many two-way players up front this year?
Not up front, but we still got a lot of two-way players.
Gotcha. Understand. No, I understand. Larry, any thoughts on the defense?
Well, as you make that transition from John Downey, who departed, to Sam Rayburn this past, I guess, spring, what's the biggest transition that you're going to see your kids have to make from a 4-down set to a odd front?
Well, I mean, like me and you were talking earlier, it's just going to be our linebacker fits, you know, cover 2 versus cover 0. That doesn't change no matter what defense you're in. But
Right.
the fit of the inside backers and the outside backers is something that we're just going to have to get better at.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about schedule. So 5 district games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doing quick math here, 5 non-district games. Let's talk non-district first. Obviously, that September 27th matchup against Mason. Always a state powerhouse. Are there any other ones on there that you're really looking forward to, or are you just curious in non-district to see how your team matches up against guys they don't always see?
No, I mean, that's the beauty of realignment. You get a chance to, you know, redo your schedule, especially in the preseason. You know, our districts really don't change that much, but you get a chance to play different people, see different venues. You know, it's always fun. I say fun. It's always a battle to play El Dorado. You know, I mean, that's right down the road, 15 miles down the road. That's always a good game. We try to keep that on the schedule every year. But like I said, we're playing Ballinger. They dropped down from 2A to 3, or 3A to 2A. Sorry. That's going to be a good game. And then we're going to travel out to McCamey. We haven't played McCamey in a while. We used to be in their district a long time ago, and I know those guys are good. And like I said, Sterling City's got a new coach. Don't really know what they're going to be like. Probably going to be pretty good. And then again, Mason. You know, it's funny that we're sitting in the district realignment meeting, and I had a week 5 scheduled. He had a week 5 scheduled. They both canceled on us at the meeting, so we just looked at each other and said, "All right."
And that's how
Back
that
at
came
it.
about.
Yes.
Larry, your thoughts on non-district schedules?
You know, I was looking at your schedule. Your last 2 games, I do believe, are Sonora and Ozona. those are two really, the last couple of years have been really good football teams. Kind of how your district, to me, it kind of keeps increasing as you go along.
Right.
So with those two games there at the end, kind of you're feeling on district play, because pre-district,
Right.
it's all fun and games. That's preparing you for district, but kind of your thoughts on district itself.
Well, last year, Sonora kind of ran away with it, and with the district. They graduated a lot of kids, but they're going to be a really good football team. Other than that, there was really not any turnover in any of our district, opponents. So I feel like week 11 across the board in the district is going to be detrimental to who's going to get in and who's not.
Sure.
You mentioned in a previous interview, you think 3-2 might be good enough to win this district just because of the strength of schedule. I mean, how strong each school is looking. So, is there anybody? You mentioned Sonora already. Is there anybody else out there in district that? Obviously, you don't want to give them bulletin board material, but
right.
Is there anybody else that you look at there and you go, I don't know?
Well, I mean, just if I'm going off of last year, and
it's
like,
obviously
right.
Preseason's always just a crapshoot anyway. You don't know how it's going to turn out.
Right. No, I know Forsan and Ozone are going to be good. We've played Colorado City in the past in pre-district. We haven't ever played them in a district, setting. So, like I said, our districts, to me, it's pretty tough. I think 3-2 and probably some kind of tiebreaker scenario might be the case here.
Yeah, and that's always kind of the iffy thing, because you never want to let it be decided by something off the field. That's what kind of stinks sometimes. You play your hearts out. You come out, let's say 4-1, 3-2, whatever in the district, and then you have to wait and see. Okay, point differential, head-to-head scheduling, strength. The list is endless. So,
right.
Larry, your thoughts on like tiebreakers, district schedule, etc.
Well, you mentioned Colorado City. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're y'all's homecoming this year, so that should be something that y'all can get up for.
Yeah, and it had nothing to do with anything else. It's just happened to do with home and away on the schedule.
Right.
So you don't really want to play a homecoming game in district because
all the stuff that surrounds it. Right.
There's just a lot of distractions and things like that. But just the way the schedule turned out, that's just the way that it fell.
I mean, that should be a fun one, because I think that's going to play a big role.
Yeah.
I mean,
open it up.
Yeah, it opens up districts. So, what's always the most important win, the first one.
Yeah, and they have a new offensive coordinator this year. He came from Miles, and so it's going to be a totally different look for them.
Right.
So speaking of homecoming, let's transition here for just a minute. Let's talk a little bit about crowd, small school football, etc. Obviously you play within shouting distance of San Angelo. 15,000 seat stadium. For my money, and this is just me, and I hope this doesn't irritate the people at home, but I almost would rather go. Of course, I'm averse to big crowds nowadays anyway, but I would almost rather go to a small school football game, because you can. I hate to say it, but you can feel it more. You can, moms, dads, grandpas, grandmas, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews. It's just, it seems to be more of a familial atmosphere. What are your thoughts, playing like in a smaller venue like Christoval?
Yeah, well, I coached at Central. I've coached in Mansfield. I've coached at the big school. And you're right, it is different, when there's more lawn chairs than there is bleachers. People standing on the track. It's a great atmosphere. I can remember back 2 to 3 years ago. It may be longer. I'm getting old, but it's us versus El Dorado, last game of the season for the district title, and the coach one of the coaches at El Dorado said, "Hey, what time are y'all's gates going to be open?" And I said, "I don't know, about 5:30 or so." He goes, "Well, can we come earlier?" I said, "Sure." Well, about 7:30 a.m. there's people had already from El Dorado had already driven to Christoval, parked their cars where they wanted to set for that night. They had a ride back home to go to work. I
love it.
So, wow. That's the kind of stories, Larry. That's what I'm talking about. Small town high school, Texas high school football. And I will die on this hill. There is no other state like the great Republic of Texas when it comes to high school football. None.
No.
I will die on that hill. Don't come at me with Florida. Don't come at me with I will die on that hill of high school football in the state of Texas.
Well, especially small school.
Yeah,
For sure. I mean, football is just important in the state of Texas. And I'm a small school guy coming from Mason. No offense. I'm very proud of where I came from, but
I'm from Greenwood. So.
oh, there you go. But when you come from those small towns, it hits different because you can feel the pressure because you know more people in that town, and it's generational.
Right.
And that's the beauty, I think, of small town football is just that feeling you don't want to let the community down when you're an athlete. That's just not an option, especially from a very tradition-proud place.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like I said, I grew up in a smaller school too, and it's funny. I mean, I still keep up with them.
Sure, I do too.
So I root for them and things like that. And I will tell you this: in the small school, like Coach McLeod, like Coach Weston at Sonora, we're all friends.
Right.
We're not enemies. We're all friends. For 48 minutes on a Friday night, we may be going against each other, but at the end of the day, it's small school, and we kind of take that with us up into the coaching community as well.
Sure. I mean, it for anybody that has coached, it is a fraternity. Mm-hmm. You never get out of it. Like a lot of these guys you're talking about, I've known a long time too, and you're right. We have very few enemies. There's some people we may not like in the profession, just like any other career in the world. But for 48 minutes, it's a respectful competition.
Yes, sir. It is.
I agree with you.
Yeah, no, again, like I said, I'm just sitting over here listening to this, and this is the kind of thing I really love about Texas high school football is these kind of conversations. But not to belabor the point too much longer, is there anything else, Coach, you'd like to mention?
I'm just looking forward to the season. Like I said, we had a good scrimmage last night, and I just want to see if we can carry that momentum on through the next week and just carry on throughout the season.
Right. So first game for Christoval, August 30th at home against El Dorado. They'll go on the road on the 6th at Ballinger. You can go online, get the schedules. I'm telling you, if you've never been there, done a few games out there over the last couple of years, you need to go out there and check it out. It's pretty cool atmosphere, pretty good environment. And like you said, you might want to show up early because I showed up to do the broadcast last year, and I had to park a little ways away because people were already coming to the gates and setting up lawn chairs behind that fence on the track. It's pretty cool environment, Coach. I want to say thank you for coming by this afternoon. Appreciate it. Coach Larry, thank you, sir, as well. And stay tuned to Concho Sports for all of your high school Concho Valley football news and broadcast, and we'll see you next time. God bless you. Take care.